Underground levels have been a staple of video games since before video games even really had unique level design. I'm not even talking Super Mario Bros. Here, I'm talking the original Mario Bros. Arcade game, and it's not too hard to see why underground levels are such a good fit. Underground levels are often dark and cramped and dank and probably have a weird smell to them, much like the basement where your average gamer resides. So is it really that big a surprise that underground spaces and games are a natural fit for each other?
We can be happy underground.
All jokes aside, I think it's interesting how underground levels have made such big waves in the video game community and really set themselves as a quintessential part of video games. And it's not really that difficult to see why, because most average people don't do a lot of underground exploring around our actual Earth. I mean, unless you're like a coal miner, it's not like you have too much to do down there. There's not just caves everywhere in the real world, so there's something kind of mystical to exploring that, because it's something we're unfamiliar with. And I don't think it's much of an exaggeration to say that this precedent was probably set by the Mario franchise. As previously mentioned, the original Mario Bros. Arcade game took place underground in a sewer with you stomping turtles and crabs. You know, sewer things. And I find it interesting because pretty much every Mario game will have that sort of blue aesthetic, the green pipes. Underground levels will often have their own enemies, like buzzy beetles or scuttlebugs that won't usually appear in other level types. And I really like how every Mario game manages to stay within the same aesthetic, but still give its underground levels their own visual flair, with some of them being just a full-stop sewer, and some of them being this like underground crystalline magical cave system. But what's most fascinating about this to me is the music. Big surprise there. Because the Mario Bros. Underground levels have a musical consistency that I don't think appears anywhere else in a video game at all. Just about every Mario game's underground theme is a rendition of the original Super Mario Bros. Underground theme. I'll put a list on screen of every Mario game that does not have this song in it. I literally have no idea what it's going to be, but I'm gonna guess it's gonna be like 2 or 3 maximum. This theme is everywhere, to the point where I would honestly put it as a contender for the most iconic video game song ever. Maybe that's a hot take, but I feel like this one could trump even the Mario Bros. Ground theme. Let's look it up. Let's see what we can find. Is the Mario Underground theme the most iconic game theme? Which is more iconic, the Mario Underground theme or the Call of Duty Zombies menu theme? I don't even know what the Zombies theme is. That doesn't seem like a fair fight at all. Yeah, Reddit user Andy the Alcohol Master 4, you should probably have less to drink next time you post. Now, the reason I spent so much time focusing on Mario and its underground levels is because the precedents set by Mario's underground aren't just consistent in that one franchise, but rather are consistent across video games as a whole. You can find the influence of this level design across video games of any genre, with a large focus on those cool color palettes, and building more of a sort of off-putting atmosphere, with the music, where applicable, having a larger focus on space between notes rather than a sound musical composition itself. And you see this influence literally everywhere. Obviously Mario has it, but then Zelda has it, Metroid has it, Halo has it, Journey has it, Dark Souls and Elden Ring have it, Spec Ops The Line has it, Skyrim has it, Hollow Knight is it. There's too many games that have this inspiration for me to possibly be able to list them here, but you get the point. And another piece of the underground level legacy that I find really hilarious is the fact that a lot of these levels are just a literal sewer. Got some nice walls here, the lights, it's pretty nice, some concrete. There's an owl over there. Yeah, look at that guy. He's not real, but like, it's kind of nifty. Because that's the thing, it's like, in a video game you can make a sewer
this really cool place to explore, and in the real world, it's what you see is what you get, baby.
Zelda has historically had very diverse underground spaces, with the franchise starting very similarly to Mario, but pretty quickly branching out and doing its own thing. But once you arrive at Tears of the Kingdom, it opens up a whole new world of underground spaces. In the most literal sense possible, the game has an entire underworld that's the size of the entire freaking world map. It's huge. Now, we'll talk about Tears of the Kingdom's depths in a separate video where we can focus more largely on them, but today I really just want to talk about the smaller underground spaces. The thing that I find interesting about Tears of the Kingdom's caves is that none of them particularly stand out from one another. They're all very samey, with the same overall visual aesthetic. Even though the caves in the various biomes will look different from each other, they all serve largely the same purpose and work with the same overarching design philosophy. But the reason this is fascinating to me is because it doesn't get boring. Even though these caves all look incredibly similar, it's a fun and fresh gameplay experience going into each and every one of them. And you'll see this trend continue in several other games of this scale. When you look at Skyrim or Elden Ring, both of those examples have underground dungeons all over the world that look largely the same, but still are fun and fresh every time you go in. None of these spaces are particularly trying to stand out from one another at first glance. In fact, it's quite the opposite. The purpose of these spaces is literally just to narrow the massive scope of the open world. When you go into one of these caves or one of these dungeons, you're navigating narrow halls, and the developers can perfectly curate a level for you to clear. And it works in the game's favor that every cave or every dungeon will share the same overarching design, because that way the player knows exactly what they're getting into as soon as they walk through the entrance. When you walk into a cave in Tears of the Kingdom, you know generally what you're gonna be doing, what sorts of enemies you'll be fighting, what sorts of items you'll be picking up, and what sorts of activities you'll be actually doing in there. And the same can be said for Elden Ring and Skyrim. You don't need to be able to tell each and every one of these areas apart from each other, you just need to have fun in them. In fact, I would say the way these all blend together so well increases replay value. I started replaying Skyrim pretty recently, and even though I have a pretty decent memory of the overall world layout, I had no memory of the layouts of any of the dungeons, so that each and every one that I go through is a unique and fresh experience. The same can be said for Elden Ring. Going back through any of those dungeons felt fresh because I didn't remember what I did there the first time through. And though I haven't restarted Tears of the Kingdom yet, something tells me I'll be feeling the same thing. I really like the way these game developers use these caves to save on resources and at the same time give us more things to do and more fun experiences to have within the games we love. But Tears of the Kingdom has a slightly more secretive underground layer to it. Something you won't notice immediately. In fact, you'll probably never notice until you accidentally fall into one of them. That, of course, being the wells. In classic Zelda fashion, nothing ever tells you to jump down the well until you get pretty far in one of the side quests. But more likely than not, you're gonna have the same thing that happened to me, where I was running around and I saw wells and I was like, there were wells in Breath of the Wild, that's a nice little piece of set dressing, and really nothing more. And so you'll move on from it and you'll kind of forget about it and you'll see another one, and it's like, look, it's another little well, isn't that nice? Until eventually you accidentally fall into one, and then you realize, oh crap, I've been missing out now. I had probably found like 15 wells across Hyrule before I realized you could go inside them. And there isn't even a ton to do in the wells. It's just a neat little space for you to explore where the developers have hidden little goodies for you, materials or weapons or whatever. Sometimes it's an enemy encounter, or a shrine, or this, that, or the other. The possibilities are endless. And once again, we see the crucial underground element of having consistency in the theme, but setting itself apart from everything else so it stands on its own 2 feet against all of the other underground levels in video games. Now, you cannot make a video about underground levels without bringing up freaking Minecraft.
Minecraft doesn't really have any sort of sewer areas, but check this out. That's cobblestone, baby. Minecraft reference right there. Concrete. Is concrete in Minecraft? They have concrete.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, concrete. It's in Minecraft now, so that's Minecraft reference.
Minecraft caves are a fascinating thing, because Minecraft is one of those games where it doesn't take too long before, to some degree, you've experienced everything the game has to offer. You run into a cave, you fight monsters, maybe you find a spawner, you'll find water and lava, and you'll find materials. You'll find coal or gold or iron, and eventually diamond. Once you find a diamond, maybe you'll find obsidian, and obsidian lets you go to the nether. Or maybe you'll stumble upon a fortress under there that takes you to the end. Once again, a lot of consistency in there, but at the same time, with them being randomly generated, it's a completely unique experience every time you go into a Minecraft cave. Maybe it'll take you 2 seconds to explore the whole thing, maybe it'll take you 2 days. The possibilities are pretty much endless, and it's impressive that the game was able to really not change caves at all for like 10 years and keep them interesting. And then they completely freaking changed the caves. Minecraft caves now are a wildly different experience from what Minecraft caves were when I was consistently playing Minecraft. And I'll be real with you, I haven't experienced new Minecraft caves yet. I know this update's like a year old, but I just haven't gotten around to it, I guess. So I guess I should, shouldn't I? Alright, I'm coming down to you guys. Did they change the texture for diamonds?
These are deep slate diamonds.
So what does slate stone? Oh, hello.
That's slate stone.
What does it do?
It's just harder stone.
Oh, I see. Oh, hello, that's a spider.
I got you.
Jump him!
Jump him!
Jump him!
Alright, Seth, you should jump down there, dude.
Do you think we could survive if we fall down there?
I can't,
No,
I only have-
actually,
Oh, you
that's
bastard! No! I'm fighting for my life.
Did you say R. Kelly?
I'm fighting for my life as a Kelly quote. No,
No man will ever be- No!
You guys all got God. I'm about to give me that loot. Give me that loot.
What, no diamond pick?
I'm not seeing
the
it.
freaking dungeons. No! You know, maybe some secrets are best left undiscovered. So we've talked a lot about elements that tie underground levels together, but how do you make an underground level stand out from the crowd? Well, I think a really good example of this is the Dark Souls franchise. The worlds in Dark Souls are extremely vertical, so a lot of the game takes place in underground spaces. Like half of the game is underground. So bearing that in mind, how do you make each area feel unique and different, and how can you give an underground space something that no other underground space will have? Well, for starters, Dark Souls likes employing all of the different underground space types that we've looked at. Natural caves, sewers, catacombs, and whatever on earth else you can fit in there that I'm not thinking of right now. But more than that, Dark Souls really likes mixing these dark and cramped underground spaces with a lookout at an absolutely gorgeous view. When you go into the catacombs in Dark Souls 1, you quickly pop out into this little waterfall canyon. When you go through this little sewer in Dark Souls 2, you pop out at Hades' Tower of Flame. Or in the catacombs of Karthus in Dark Souls 3, you pop out at Irithyll. On top of this, the franchise uses a lot of differences in color to make areas stand out. Just within Dark Souls 3, for example, you'll have the Catacombs of Karthus being a very neutral gray, and then the Demon Ruins being very orange, Irithyll Dungeon being very blue and green, and the list goes on and on. And probably my favorite underground space in the Dark Souls franchise is the boss arena for probably the hardest boss in the game, Dark Eater Midir. Midir is a huge dragon that you encounter all throughout the final DLC, and eventually you get to fight him in this secret area. You have to go behind an illusionary wall and fall down this giant hole when you finally land in Midir's chasm. Obviously the boss fight itself is awesome, but I really love just coming down here and looking at this area. One of my favorite visual elements of an underground level is when the space you're standing in is very dark and all of the light is coming in from the distance. It really makes the place feel larger than life, and it adds an element of mystery, letting you wonder what's beyond what you have immediate access to. Funny though it is, this is probably the most Mario-looking area in the Dark Souls franchise, because once you start looking at the similarities, like, I'm not crazy here, right? So I hope you've enjoyed our little look through some of the underground spaces and some of the things that tie them together. There's a lot of elements that tie underground levels together, and a lot of elements that make them stand out from one another. But as always, I couldn't possibly hope to cover every underground space in a game, so what are some of your favorites? What do you love about them? What sets them apart? What ties them together with the other spaces? Let me know in the comments, I'd love to hear your thoughts, and until next time, I don't know, I didn't plan an outro for this video. Get out. Go away. Bye.